we would like to welcome our panelists that we have here today. We have Gus Camacho, Camacho Auto Sales, Laura Wehunt, who is the Vice President of Automotive Valuation, Blackbook, Todd Hunt with Jerry Hunt Supercenter, Lexington, North Carolina, and Eugene Gorin, who is a partner with Indy Carman, Indianapolis, Indiana. So thank you, each of you, for taking your time out of your busy day today to attend our panel, which is in a fast-moving market, along with multiple valuation tools, how can you best determine the wholesale market value of a vehicle? So before we get started, if each one of you would just take a few minutes and tell us about your company and about yourselves. So Gus, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Gus Camacho. I'm President and CEO of Camacho Auto Sales. We have 3 locations in Southern California, just outside of Los Angeles. We are both the buy here, pay here, and subprime dealerships. So we do a combo of both. It's about a 50-50 split between the two. We sell about 200 vehicles a month. A little bit about myself, second generation. I have been running the dealership since 1995, so I've been running it for quite a while. We are from Mexico and immigrated to this country. My father did, and I'm a first generation in the U.S. I'm proud American. Let me see, what else should I say? I have 4 kids, so they keep me pretty busy. They're all pretty old now, though, so I got 1 left at home, and then I'll be like Joe McCloskey, with no birds in the home. I'm part of NIADA 20 group. I've been a member of the 20 group for, gosh, probably a good 15, 20 years. I used to belong to another group and got bought out by NIADA. I've also sat on the services board for NIADA. Very active in our state association, and that's about it for myself.
Good. Laura, would you please introduce yourself and tell us something about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Laura Wehunt, Vice President of Automotive Valuations at Blackbook. And so I'm responsible for the team that actually does the actual wholesale value. So when you look up a Blackbook value, that is my team that is responsible for that value. So we spend our days talking to dealers like yourselves. During normal times, we go to the auction, we watch auctions, we talk to auctioneers, we talk to remarketers. We just try to keep a really good pulse on the market and all the different facets that impact the value. On the personal side, I have a 4-year-old daughter and 2 fur babies.
Okay, thank you. And next we have Todd Hunt with Jerry Hunt Supercenter. Todd, can you tell us something about yourself and your dealership?
Sure. Todd Hunt, own Jerry Hunt Supercenter. We've been in business since 1982. My dad started the business. We started with $5,000 and 4 cars. So we grew into over 500 units. We sell roughly 4 to 450 retail units a month. A little bit about myself personally. I'm married, got 4 children. And we love the beach, so everyone's at the beach right now. That's one of my favorite places to be.
Good. Well, thank you. Next, we have Eugene. Eugene, would you please tell us something about yourself and your dealership?
Sure. My dealership is called Indy Automan. Joe likes to call us the Indy Carman. Pretty much the same thing. My business partner and I, Victor, we started this business back in 2008. We were both born in Russia area. I was born in Ukraine. He was born in Odessa. We came here. I came here when I was about 3 years old. He came here when he was about 16. He has a pretty thick Russian accent, which we all love and make fun of. But him and I have been running this company since 2008. We do about 200 units a month. We just opened, or are in the process of opening, our second facility. It's a 12,000 square foot service shop with about 4 acres of just parking, which we plan to use as a satellite location. So with the market shifting, it's been a little bit more difficult to buy cars, and that's kind of why this discussion is a little bit interesting. Past that, I have no kids. He has 1 kid. I also love the beach, and yeah, excited to be here.
Well, good. Well, thank you for coming. Real quick about myself. Of course, my name is Joe McCloskey, and been in business since with McCloskey Motors since 1989. We're a two-time winner of the Colorado Independent Auto Dealer Association Quality Dealer of the Year, as well as the National Independent Auto Dealer Quality Dealer of the Year recipient. I currently serve as the president-elect of NIADA, as well as serve on the board of directors with Colorado Independent Auto Dealers Association. So been married 42 years, have 5 children and 8 grandchildren. My son Tom participates and is partner in our company. And well, that's enough about me. First of all, once again, I want to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy day to participate on this panel. So just as we talked about, and you've introduced yourself, what type of business models, this question is for each of the panelists, what type of business models do you have, and what are the types of vehicles that you buy for your inventory? So Gus, could you take up on that question, and we'll follow with Todd and Eugene.
Yeah, so we have a split model. So half of our business is buy here, pay here, and the other part of our business is subprime. And both of those businesses require a different type of inventory. We do a little bit of prime business, so I do pick up a little bit of prime inventory. But I'll give you an example. So for our buy here, pay here industry business, we concentrate on vehicles that are in the $5,000 to $7,000 cost, and that's kind of the vehicles that we look for. We have a list of vehicles that we don't buy because we know they're not going to last the term of the loan. But we have a list of obviously the cars that we do buy. So we concentrate on looking for those type of vehicles. Book value is a little bit of a guide. In the West Side, we use Kelley Blue Book. That's kind of the one that the lenders like us to use. So we use that. We do look at Blackbook as well too, but Kelley Blue Book tends to be the one that the lenders use. So we do look at that. But when it comes to buy here, pay here, book doesn't really matter. It's more of, hey, what are we going to sell this vehicle for, and is it going to last the term of the loan? What condition is it in? How much am I going to spend in reconditioning? And that's for buy here, pay here. When it comes to subprime, it's a little bit different. Subprime, we're looking for something that we can buy below the value of the book, something that we know that we'll get a good advance for from the lender. Normally, you're looking at an $8,000 to probably $14,000 cost vehicle. And we are at that point, we're really looking for that vehicle that's not going to require too much reconditioning, and that we'll be able to buy a little bit below the market to be able to have some room there for any kind of discounts that the lender might charge. And then a little small part of my business, probably 5 to 10% is prime. So for the prime customer, what I look for is candy eye. I look for a couple, lifted Jeeps, a lifted truck, maybe a luxury vehicle, something that'll stand up on the lot, that'll dress up the lot. And so when someone drives by or they go on the internet, they see that we've got some flashy vehicles. So I call it candy eye, but that's something that's maybe, there's very few around in the area. But again, it's a very small portion of my business. So most of our time is spent on looking for that buy here, pay here car and that subprime vehicle.
Great. So Todd, what type of business model do you have, and what are the types of vehicles that you buy for inventory?
Well, we're strictly retail, so about 47% of our business is subprime, about 53% is prime. We handle all makes and models. We specialize in trucks. Of course, we're in the South, so trucks are big down our way. But we also do a lot of our own lifting. We lift our own trucks in-house, Jeep Wranglers and such stuff as that. But we're strictly a retail dealership.
Okay, good, thank you. Eugene, what type of business model do you have, and what are the types of vehicles that you buy for inventory?
We're strictly retail, same thing as Todd. We do probably 60-65% prime, 30-35% subprime. We do a lot of stuff that is just easy to finance. So it could be anything from a $8,000 car to a $80,000 car. It's just if we can buy one that's got a good market day supply that seems to be trending in the right direction in terms of turns, in terms of sales, we'll pick it up. And then we've got a pretty aggressive pricing strategy that even if the vehicle's not moving quickly, we'll move it fast enough just by price reductions.
Okay, good. So we have a question for you, Eugene, Todd, and Gus. How do you plan your week of buying inventory? How do you determine what vehicles to purchase? And please summarize the methodology of determining what your dealership's vehicle purchases needs are, and how often do you do it? So, Todd, can you pick up on that for us, please?
Sure. Basically what we do is we have 3 buyers, and of course I buy some, but most of our buyers do all the buying. So we meet once a day, normally first thing in the morning, and we're basically going over the day prior of what we sold. We also look at what we sold in the past week. So that's how we get our day started. Also, we take in consideration of Stockwave. We use Stockwave on a daily basis. We're looking at what buckets need to be filled, and also, you know, what type of inventory we got too much of. But basically, you know, my buyers is we're meeting daily and letting these guys know exactly our managers, you know, me of what we're needing on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you. Eugene, how about you?
Well, very similar. I don't meet with my buyers on a daily basis. I've got 2 buyers and an acquisitions director. The acquisitions director meets with Lot Pop. They provide us with a tool that analyzes our inventory and analyzes the trade or the trends that are occurring on Auto Trader and Car Gurus. What searches are increasing, what searches are decreasing. So we can kind of predict the market a little bit. And it's kind of funny because it lines up really well with Stockwave. I'm pretty sure they pull a lot of their data from the same sources. And so we look at what we need, what we're selling a lot of, and then what the predictive index is through Lot Pop and Stockwave. And then right now it's not as useful because there's a shortage of used cars. So we're pretty much going out there and saying, hey, what do we know sells? What, you know, and if we don't know what sells, we look at the market day supply. Is it trending up? Is it trending down? If it's trending down, take a risk. Let's try it out. If it's trending up and we know that they sell, we'll still buy it. But if it's trending up and we don't know anything about it, you know, we'll be very wary unless it's just a killer deal.
Well, good, thank you. Gus, could you tell us what your response is?
We have 2 buyers that work for me, and we meet once a week, and we do things a little bit old school. We look at an Excel spreadsheet. I have someone here on our team that runs some statistics for us, and we look at 2 things. We look at what are the sales for the last 90 days, and how much money do we make on these units, and then what is it that what is our current inventory, and then we compare the 2 to see, you know, what areas are we lower in, and what do we need to go out and buy. Now we take a look at what's our capital for the week, how much capital do we have, and kind of what's our goal of where we want to be at. We do that once a week, and then during the week we communicate by all being in the same email string. Again, it's old school, but it's real easy. Whenever we buy any vehicles, it ends up going to the same email string, so we can see what everyone's buying, and we kind of keep track of, oh yeah, we wanted to try to pick up, you know, 10 Altimas this week, and then you can see who's buying, who's been able to buy them during the week. And we keep it very simple. We don't look so much at market day supply. We do have Stockwave, and we do take a peek at it, but the majority of the time is we're looking at, okay, what have we been selling? What can we get a good deal on if it's a subprime vehicle? And on the buy here, pay here is, hey, is this a vehicle that we can turn around and sell? I know Todd and Eugene and both myself, we all have really good turns on inventory. I think very good at that, and but we all look at it just a little bit differently.
Okay, thank you. So Todd, Eugene, and Gus, what type of tools do you use to determine market value of a vehicle? Do you use Provision, NIADA, Kelly, Blackbook, MMR, or auction post-sale lists? How do you use these tools to determine the wholesale market values? So Eugene, could you pick up on that, please?
Sure. We pretty much use all those tools. It just depends what kind of car it is. If it's a car that we have very little experience with, we'll use them all. We'll look at Provision, we'll look at the retail, what they're going for, we'll look at the market day supply, the MMR, the less sure we are of a buy, the more sources we'll consult. And if it still doesn't make any sense, we'll just try to make a best guess at it. Me personally, I look at the Carfax, obviously, to determine what percent of the market to list the car for retail at. And then past that, we look at the market day supply. If the market day supply is really low, we know we sell those cars. It really doesn't matter what we pay for them. Even if we break even on retailing the car, we're hoping for a trade in back end. If it's a car that we're not too sure of, then we want to make sure that we've got a lot of padding in there. We also look at market day supply, NIADA value, and ACV. They've got the new tool. You can look at the retail trends of what they're, not retail, what they're wholesaling for. So we can see, hey, we're about to pay $38,000 for this Dodge truck. What did it bring last week? So we definitely use all those tools. It's just we use specific tools based on the experience we have with an individual vehicle.
Okay, thank you. Gus, what tools do you use to determine the market value of a vehicle?
Kelley Blue Book and MMR would probably be the top two, I would say. Kelley Blue Book only because the lenders in the West Coast tend to use that book for when you're out there trying to get an advance. We use Shockwave as well to book out our vehicles. We book them out through Shockwave. We run Carfax and AutoCheck. We don't sell anything that's got a branded title or salvage or frame damage. So we look at Carfax and AutoCheck to make sure that they have clean records on them.
Okay, thank you. And Todd, what tools do you use to determine the market value of a vehicle?
Well, we're about the same as Eugene. We look at pretty much all books, but in today's market, we're basically looking at NIADA and working backwards. So, we're looking at the spread on each vehicle. As far as a truck or SUV, we're trying to buy about a $2,500 to $3,000 spread. A car, we're looking at $1,000, $1,500 spread. We look at provisions. We do look and see how we are in the market. We are all about turns, so need to make sure these vehicles are turning.
Okay, thank you. So we have a question for Laura. Laura, many buyers use Blackbook for vehicle valuation. As you know, there are big variation of vehicle values depending upon the source. What makes Blackbook more accurate on a vehicle valuation versus the competitor sources?
So I think it really comes down to two things. So the first is that we have an art and science approach. And so my team is the art side. And so we're the ones that are monitoring the market. We're watching the auctions. We're helping the data science identify outliers, any like natural disasters, government reactions, anything that could impact the market. We get calls from remarketers and they're going to call and say, hey, just letting you know, there was a hailstorm in this part of the country. That's what I'm running this week. Don't let the amount of data impact the value. And so then we take that back to our data science team, and it's that interaction that we have back and forth that I think really sets us apart. The other part is I think it's the amount of data. So we have access to more data than anybody because we are independent. We're not part of Cox or any of the other big ones, and so we are able to pull many different sources. So we've got access to the Manheims and Odessas, all the independents. We get data from rental companies. We get it from dealer-to-dealer platforms. I mean, just all the different. We're about 95% of all of the wholesale auction feeds that are out there. We have access to. So we bring all of that together, and then we also deliver values on a daily basis. So we are making valuation changes every single day. So it's not just a weekly or a monthly publish. We are actually updating every day. And so with this current market especially, I think that really is an important piece right there.
Okay, thank you. And Gus and Todd, what are the other factors that you take into consideration when determining the wholesale market value of a vehicle, such as reconditioning, sale fees, freight, wholesale inspection fees, and floor plan fees? So Todd, how about you?
We're definitely transporting a lot of vehicles right now, and of course it costs, normally it's about $1 a mile. So it's according on where it's coming from. It's coming from North Carolina. Normally transportation costs us 50 to 100 bucks. Coming from Texas, $700, $800. So we look at transportation. Buyer's fees on average for us is about 550 bucks. So we take that in consideration. Also reconditioning. We average out our reconditioning between $700 and $800 a vehicle. Of course, on the truck side, it normally costs a little bit more money for us to recondition a truck than it does a car.
Okay, great. Gus, how about you?
So we take a look at reconditioning. That's probably the biggest thing for us. On a subprime vehicle, you've got to be really make sure that your reconditioning costs aren't going to be too expensive. So we really stay away from any vehicle that's going to require any major work. We're looking at vehicles that are, a little bit lower mileage, that you don't have to spend too much money on. They just need a basic inspection on them. But you're not going to go and replace a motor or transmission or anything. On the buy here, pay here, it's a little bit different. It depends. Like, right now, for us, it's become a little more difficult to find buy here, pay here vehicles. So we're buying vehicles that might need a little bit more reconditioning, and we are doing some bigger jobs on some of them, just because that changes. We see this over. We've been in business for 40 years, and there's times when inventory is a little bit tighter to find, and so you have to spend a little bit more money on reconditioning, knowing that. There's times where there's plenty of it, so you can be real picky. Right now, we're in a position where we have to buy some of that buy here, pay here product that requires a little bit more work, and we're spending a little bit more reconditioning on it. Transportation used to not be a big deal for us. We're in Southern California. There's tons of auctions around us, so I never really looked at it. But again, when inventory gets tight like it is right now, we've had to reach out farther, and now transportation is something. Now I'm looking at the transportation costs. How much is this going to cost me to ship it from Arizona or from Las Vegas? And typically I don't buy from those areas, but when inventory is tight, you got to start spreading your wings out a little bit farther.
That's true. That's true. Eugene, we have a question for you, and you touched on it a little bit earlier. So if we could get you to expand on that, how big does the vehicle's availability or scarcity play in determining the vehicle's wholesale value? Would you rather purchase a vehicle that is rare and in not too much supply, or one that has medium supply and a medium sales rate, or one that has a high supply and a high sales rate? Which one is more valuable to you and why?
So I used to always go after the rare cards because that would be really cool and you'd have people calling in from all across the country. But then we did some analysis and those cars don't sell. So we stopped doing that. What we realized is it does come down to market day supply on the vehicle. So if there's a lot of cars out there, but they have a low market day supply, it all comes down to how you price them. So I don't really necessarily want one or the other. I just need to be able to buy it at a point where I can sell it in the right space. So if it's a low market day supply car and there's not a lot of them out there, I can price it higher. So I can pay a little bit more for it. If it's a low market day supply car and there's a ton of them out there, I have to be able to price it lower. So like our goal is to be in the top 10% of the V rank and price rank on any highly available car. Kind of hard to buy it in that range. So it's really what you can get. It's not like we're going after one particular strategy. We're really looking at every possible way that we can just acquire inventory.
Okay, good. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have a question for the panel. Please just jump in when you're ready. Do you start with the valuation based upon the wholesale market pricing or the retail selling price point and working backwards towards a wholesale price? So Todd, you kind of touched on that a little bit earlier. What are your thoughts?
Of course, we start with NIADA retail and work backwards, but we look at the vehicle demand and the market day supply also, and also we're looking pretty much on every vehicle how we are priced to the market. So we try to be between 95 and 101% to the market and beyond.
Okay. And Eugene, how about you?
I try to be like 93%.
Yeah. So do you start with the retail price in mind and then work backwards, or do you buy basically off of the book value of the car and determine?
We always start with the retail price because it doesn't matter what you paid for the car. If it's worth 10 grand and you paid 15, it's still worth 10 grand.
Okay. And I guess with your model, it's a little bit different. How about you?
Yeah, with on the subprime side of it, we really look at wholesale book and then work our way down from there, and try to stay within that price range of $8,000 to $14,000 cost. On the buy here pay here, it's strictly a cost issue. What are we paying for, and is it going to last the term of the loan? Is it a good buy here pay here vehicle?
So another question for the panel: how big of a component does the lender advance play in the acquisition price? And also, you might add to that their financing terms. Gus, how about you?
On the subprime, it's a big deal. Yeah, when you have a subprime customer, you're going to get 110% advance. You got to make sure you're buying the right product. And there are some lenders that there's certain vehicles that score a little bit higher in their matrix. So you try to pick up some of those vehicles.
Okay. And Eugene, how about you? How big of a component does the lender advance play in the acquisition price of a vehicle, as well as their terms?
It doesn't play a really big role for us because we always price it like 93% out of the gate. So we're always selling it clean trade-in. So we're never in danger there. I apologize.
And Todd, how about you?
It really doesn't affect us. As Gus said, sometimes, every once in a while on a subprime vehicle, but with our model, it doesn't affect our store.
Okay, good. Laura, we have a question for you. How reliable are the condition reports of vehicles? What are the best practices in determining the vehicle's condition? And how does Blackbook determine the condition of its vehicles that it's valued?
So that's a good question. So things have definitely gotten more challenging with our inability to go to the physical auction. So it used to be that we've got auction people all around the country. My team also goes to our local auctions in the Atlanta area to physically view the vehicles and to get an idea of how does that CR score align to the actual condition of the vehicle. And I know right now there seems to be a lot of concern, especially with some of the auctions having to furlough a lot of their staff, but the quality of those condition reports has suffered. And so we are still taking the time to watch auctions and really dig into the condition reports that are provided, and really dig through the pictures and get an idea of what is the condition of these vehicles. Something else that we have is history adjusted values. And so I think that's something that can help dealers to have another point of triangulation. So if you pull our book value and you see a really large negative adjustment for history, but it's got a 4.7 CR, you may want to take a second thought. This thing's probably been wrecked. There probably is prior paint work. There's been more to this vehicle than meets the eye. But if you see it's a 4.9 and we're adding money for it, then likely it's been well maintained, maybe only one or two owners, depending on age. We take into consideration all those different things into that adjustment for the market, for the condition of the history of the vehicle.
Okay, thank you. Another question that we have for the panel: what kind of role do outstanding vehicle recalls play in determining the vehicle's value? So Laura, how about you with Blackbook? What type of role do vehicle recalls play?
Yeah, so that one's a little trickier because not all recalls are created equally. So for a franchise dealer, if it's got a recall, they're likely not going to even entertain buying it because they can't retail it until there's a fix. But somebody like Fox, like you're able to, you can pick it up and, get a pretty good deal on it and sell it. So it's one of those things that the art and science approach comes in handy. So the art side of it is we know it's there, we communicate it back, and we know that does impact the demand for it. But it really comes down to the vehicle and the severity of the recall.
Great. Todd, how about you? What type of role did outstanding vehicle recalls play in determining the value of a vehicle?
You know, as many vehicles as we're buying, it doesn't determine if we're going to buy the vehicle or not. And when the vehicle lands, we try to get most all open recalls taken care of. If some reason it slips through the cracks or the dealer can't get to it, then we make sure the customer signs a Carfax report, and it states pretty much what the open recall is.
Okay, good. Eugene, how about you?
Same thing as Todd. We really don't use recalls when we make buying decisions. We have a little spot on our website where under every single car in the VDPs, you can scroll down and see what the recalls are for that specific vehicle. And then we also have a disclaimer that the customer signs stating that, hey, they're buying this vehicle. All recalls are disclosed. They know that they can repair the vehicle for free at the manufacturer. And then here's the website where you can get all of your additional information. So it really doesn't make a difference for us.
Gus?
It depends on the vehicle. So if it's a European vehicle or a Highline vehicle, which we do very little of, then we won't buy them if they have any recalls, just because the closest dealer is an hour from here. That you know, like Mercedes, BMW, we just don't have any in our local market. You have to drive an hour into LA to go get that done. And we take care of all our recalls. When a car comes in, we get the recalls done, with the exception of if there's no remedies available. But we really do everything we possibly can to get the recalls done before the car gets sold. We also have the customer sign off on Carfax, on AutoCheck, and we also pull the national database where they have the recalls and have them sign that as well too. But we do everything we can to get all those recalls done before they leave the dealership.
Okay. So for the panel, in your experience, when's the best time to buy? The beginning of the month, the middle of the month, or the end of the month? And Todd, how about you?
Well, before COVID-19, you know, what we seen was the end of the month. But in this market, there's no such thing. So, you know, we don't see a decline throughout the month at all.
Gus, how about you?
I don't think it really matters. I would say the one thing that does maybe matter a little bit is the end of the day. If you can stick around and you can be one of the last guys on there still bidding, I think we all know that, you know, if you still have money to spend and you're at the end of the day, there's less buyers because a lot of them have purchased what they wanted to buy for the day and they're gone. And you can pick up some better deals at the end of the day. But I'm not, holidays sometimes too. If you're around a holiday, people will leave, you'll be less buyers. So anytime there's going to be less buyers at the sale, you're going to get a little bit of a better deal because you're bidding against less people.
Good. Yeah, those are good tips. How about you, Eugene?
I mean, the number one rule is just don't stop buying. So, you know, the inventory is always going to sell. It's just you don't know when you're going to have a 15 car Saturday or a 30 car Saturday. So you might as well get prepared for it. Look at your trends, and you know, if there's good deals, we keep buying. It doesn't matter if it's the beginning of the month or the end of the month, because we still need inventory for the next month. And with using all these different sources, I mean, we can't buy locally. There's no real local auctions around us. So we're always on ACV, TradeRev, OVE, StockWave, and we have cars that are shipping out from 500 to 1,000 miles away. So even if we buy it 7 days ago, we might not have it ready for retail for 15 days, 21 days. So, you know, even if we have 250 in stock, we might have 50 in transit. So we just keep buying until we have enough on the ground where we're like, okay, we're good.
Okay, good. Thank you. Laura, have you noticed with Blackbook, has Blackbook noticed any differences in vehicle valuations from beginning of the month, middle of the month, or end of the month? Have they noticed any trends?
No, we haven't really. I mean, I think, you know, holidays obviously play a part in that, and the time of year plays a big part. But as far as getting down into like the nitty gritty of, you know, exact time of the month, I would not say we have seen any trends there. But, you know, you just gave me a good idea that maybe I'm going to start pulling some data and see if there's anything there that we've missed.
Okay. Well, we'll invite you back for another panel for that one. So, okay, so next for the panel, when purchasing, and I think we've addressed this quite a bit, maybe you could recap it, but when purchasing, how does the future wholesale value play in determining the purchase value of a vehicle? You take your exit strategy into an account when determining the wholesale purchase price of a vehicle. So since you all have very fast turns in your inventory, do you take your exit strategy into an account when determining the purchase wholesale price? So Eugene, how about you?
We don't. It might be something to look into, but our average turn is 40 days, so it's not something we've paid a lot of attention to. All of our focus has really been on just buying cars that we haven't had time to really think about what do we do if we don't sell them.
Okay, good. Gus, how about you?
Same thing. I mean, our average turns around 34 days. So when we buy something, we buy it with the mindset that we're going to sell it right away. So we really don't look at, you know, what's the wholesale value of that thing going to be in a month or two.
Okay. And Todd?
You know, pretty much our average turn is right now around 27 days. You know, our strategy is, of course, making sure this vehicle does not age on us. So we try our best to look at each vehicle daily and making sure we're priced right to market.
Okay,
Hey,
good.
Todd, is that 27 days from the moment you purchase it or from the moment that it's frontline ready?
It's we have rapid recon, so it's from the day that it hits the ground. When it's unloaded at our store, it starts.
Got it.
That's a good question, Eugene. Next, since COVID-19, has your buying strategy changed? And if so, how has it changed? Gus?
It has. It has because we've had to buy farther away. So when COVID-19 first started kicking in, we actually went out and bought a bunch of cars because they were really cheap. I wish we would have bought more. I think everybody wishes they would have bought more cars during that time. But we did go out and we loaded up on vehicles. Once the demand for vehicles went up and new car inventory at the new car dealership started going down, all of a sudden we had tons of buyers at the auctions. So now all of a sudden prices on the vehicles have gone up a lot. And so what's happened is now we're buying from more online sources. We used to not buy very much from Carway, which is a company out in California. Now we're buying from them. We're buying from ACV online. And so we've added more channels to buy from, where we used to just go down to the local auctions and buy locally. And we physically would go down there, kind of old school, but that's just the way we did it because there's so many of them around us. But that times have changed, and we've had to open up our wings a little bit and kind of look outside. And like I mentioned earlier, you know, taking a look at transportation costs, because now we're buying a little bit farther and we're having to have cars shipped to us from Northern California and out of state, and normally we didn't have to do that.
And Todd, since COVID-19, has your buying strategy changed? And if so, how has it changed?
Definitely. You know, before COVID, we were buying about 70% of our inventory at the auction. Today, we're buying 100% of our inventory online. So as Gus just said, you know, we definitely had to step out the boundaries of how far out we're going. We're buying vehicles all over the country now, where before, you know, we may buy a truck or two in Texas, but, you know, we're having to step outside of our boundaries of how far out we're going. And honestly, it's been a good problem for us, because now we see our buyers buying what we need. And so, you know, before we was going to the auction and you know, we would buy cars that we really didn't need, and we couldn't make a lot of money off of. So now we're buying vehicles that we need and trucks that we need. And so it's been definitely a plus for us.
Okay, good. Eugene, how about for you?
It hasn't really changed. We were always doing like 100% online for about like the past 3 years. So it just made us really go a little bit riskier. Inventories, there's a lot less inventory. So we had to really beef up our service department and expect a lot more output from them because we weren't buying super clean cars anymore. They just weren't out there. So that's really been the biggest change, is just where we're looking for a lower CR and we're looking for high turn.
Okay, good. So another question for the panel, and we kind of just touched on it a little bit. With the auction lanes opening up to in-person buying, do you plan on going to the auctions to buy in person or to continue buying online? Gus, how about you?
So that's a really good question. My buyers have not gone back. You know, there's no physical cars at the auction running through. It's just computer screens. So why be there? I think the only thing that we're missing is that you know, the relationships that we built with other wholesalers that you built when you're there at the lane, and you don't build that when you're at your office. But without any physical cars there, there's not really much of a reason to be there, you know, before it's to go look and touch them. I think our whole way of buying has completely changed, and it's not going to go back. We're going to be buying online, and that's going to be a majority. I think it's still a good idea for my buyer to go, you know, occasionally down there just to meet with the wholesalers and still have those relationships, but it's not something where he needs to go every week. My buyers are buying a lot more vehicles now than they were before per buyer. Because they're buying online. You know, they're going through, they're doing 2 auctions at the same time. There's a lot more going on. They're able to hit more lanes. So there's a lot of advantages of buying everything online. Again, the only disadvantage is not having those relationship with some of those wholesalers and the auctions. But I think that's the big change you're going to see with a lot of dealers. That's my opinion.
Eugene, you're planning on continuing just buying online as you have the past 3 years, or do you plan on buying online?
I used to buy a lot in person in the lanes, and then I would just make so many mistakes that, you know, you get a car and half of it was gone, and it's like, oh wow, how did I miss that? So we don't make those mistakes anymore. And definitely, to Gus's point, you could definitely meet some good wholesalers and build some relationships, but if you're able to buy double, triple the amount of cars from your desk that you could have bought in person, those wholesale relationships aren't as necessary, I guess.
Todd, how about you? You buy a large volume of vehicles. Do you plan, as auctions are opening back up, to in-lane buying, start attending those in-lane buying auctions, or buying online?
Joe, we're definitely strictly online from here on out. You know, I do miss, I've been doing this pretty much all my life, so I do miss going physically, looking, smelling, seeing the vehicle. And also I miss seeing some of my, you know, car dealer friends, eating lunch with them and talking about the car business. But I just think it's smarter to buy online. And of course, like I said, I see that we're buying the right vehicle now. So, you know, we'll probably physically never go back to another auction.
Okay. So once again, thank you to each one of you on the panel. And I'd like to open it up if you had, to the panelists, if you had any questions of any of the other panel members or any other closing comments before we adjourn the meeting.
I think we covered a lot of really good topics. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, once again, thank you to each one of you taking time out of your busy days for participating and giving us your valuable information. And we appreciate you and all your participation with the National Independent Auto Dealers Association. And we're looking forward to a strong finish to the year.